You ever hear a sound that seems to transport you not just to another place, but to another time? Well, today we're going on a trip like that, an auditory journey to Iran to discover the ancient, beautiful instruments that have been the very voice of a culture for thousands of years.
What you're hearing in the background right now, that's a little taste of that world. It's a sound that's so complex and just deeply emotional, and it's all built from this family of really unique and beautiful instruments. So let's pull back the curtain and meet the individual voices that come together to create this incredible music.
Okay, first up, let's meet the storytellers. You know, in any piece of music, there are certain instruments that sing the main narrative. And in Persian music, these are the voices that carry those primary, unforgettable melodies.
And our first storyteller is the kamancheh. Even the name just kind of rolls off the tongue. Sounds musical, doesn't it? This instrument has a truly one-of-a-kind voice, so let's have a listen.
So the Comanche is what's called a bowed spike fiddle, and that spike at the bottom is literally so the player can rest it on their knee. It's so versatile, it's a total star in both classical and folk music, and it really has a global reach. One of its most celebrated modern masters is the Grammy Award winner Kayhan Kalhor, who's brought its soulful sound to audiences all over the planet.
And this description of its sound is just perfect. Emotional and nasal, almost like a human voice singing. Just listen to this.
You can totally hear that vocal quality, can't you? It's what makes the Comanche so moving.
All right, next up we have an instrument that is just as beautiful to look at as it is to listen to, the suntur.
And here's where your jaw might drop a little bit. 72 strings. I mean, can you imagine the complexity? These strings are grouped in sets of 4, and each set is tuned to a single note. This creates this incredibly rich, chorus-like effect when they're struck by these delicate little wooden mallets. The craftsmanship is just staggering.
So what do all those 72 strings get you? Well, they create this sound. It's like a cascade of shimmering light. In an ensemble, the suntur's texture is absolutely essential, filling the space with a rich, almost metallic brightness that just kind of hangs in the air. Okay, now we're going to meet one of the absolute pillars of Persian classical music. An instrument whose shape and sound are just instantly recognizable, the tar.
The tar is a plucked stringed instrument with this very distinctive double bowl body, which is traditionally covered with lambskin. And that construction, that's exactly what gives it such a uniquely warm and expressive sound. Its role in the music is absolutely central. It's often the lead voice in a classical ensemble, and it was made famous by masters like the great Jalil Shahnaz.
Now let's meet a close relative of the tar, the setar. They might look a little similar, but when it comes to their musical personalities, well, they're worlds apart.
So think of the sitar as the tar's delicate cousin. Where the tar is warm and really expressive, the sitar is softer, more spiritual, and kind of introspective. With 4 strings instead of the tar's 6, it has a much more intimate voice, and you'll often hear it in solo performances that are deeply personal and meditative.
We've heard the voices that sing the melody. Now let's meet the instrument that provides the heartbeat. You know, that foundational pulse that really drives the music forward?
And that heartbeat, more often than not, is provided by the tombak. This is the main percussion instrument in Persian classical music.
The tumbak is a goblet drum, and get this, it's masterfully carved from a single block of wood, usually mulberry, and then topped with a goatskin head. The modern way of playing this thing was pretty much defined by the legend Hussein Tehrani, who took it from just being a simple backup instrument to a virtuosic solo instrument in its own right. The real genius of the tombak is its incredible dynamic range. Just listen. From those deep bass tones, which they call tom, to the crisp, high-pitched snaps called bach, a master can create this dizzying array of complex rhythms with nothing but their hands. Finally, let's turn to an instrument that connects the music to something deeper. Something, well, ancient and spiritual. This is really the voice of the soul.
We're talking about the ney. It's one of the oldest instruments in the world, and its construction is so simple, it's basically just a piece of reed, but that simplicity hides a profoundly evocative sound. So the ney is an end-blown flute, which means the player blows across the open top edge, not into a mouthpiece. But what makes it so unique is that the player actually places the rim between their teeth, using their breath to create a sound that is just haunting and otherworldly. Because of this, it's deeply, deeply connected to Sufi spiritual traditions and the mystical poetry of Rumi.
And this sound, it just brilliantly illustrates that spiritual connection. That breathy, mystical quality is meant to evoke a sense of longing, of divine yearning. It's a sound that is both incredibly simple and just endlessly deep.
So, we've met the individual voices. We've got the storytellers, the heartbeat, and the soul. Now let's hear how they all come together to create that rich tapestry of Persian music.
It all builds in layers. You start with those voices of melody, the Comanche, the Santur, and the tar, all weaving these intricate lines around each other. Then you add the pulse of rhythm with the tumbak, giving it structure and that forward drive. And finally, you layer in the echoes of soul from the ney, adding that mystical, timeless quality to the whole thing.
You know, each of these instruments has its own story to tell, but when you put them together, they tell the much larger story of a rich and enduring culture. So the next time you listen to Persian music, listen a little closer. Now that you've actually met the instruments, what stories are you going to hear?